One Video Podcast. I'm your host, Amin Ahmed. This is a podcast for kids, to kids, with kids, by kids, and everyone in general. Kids in the room. Now, as usual, I'm never alone on this very podcast. And today, an amazing guest, or rather a very close friend of mine, is joining me for this podcast. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Alamin.
Yes.
Yes, so what are we here to talk about today?
No, like usual, I said.
Yeah.
And I've said, like in the previous podcast too, I'm never going to tell you guys the topic.
Wow.
You're just going to basically converse through it and learn on what the topic is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So I forgot to introduce myself.
Right, yes.
Yeah, so my name's Mwangi and I'm glad to be here today. I'm one of the child rights activists from Total News.
Yes.
And it's a privilege to be here on Total on Podcast, being the second one. It's indeed, I'm very delighted to be here today.
Delighted to be here.
Yeah.
Now, Mwangi, you attended, or rather, a few months ago, you attended a sort of leadership training at the African Leadership Academy.
Yeah.
What exactly were you doing there, I'd say?
So around September, the African Leadership Academy had an accelerator program,
right,
in which they converged the different students from different schools and different ages, just to guide them through what African Leadership Academy is. The enrollment procedures and application procedures, and just to give us an idea of really what happens in the African Leadership Academy, because of course it's a very prestigious one, and so the recruitment is very rigorous. And so what they really, are very passionate to recruit the people who actually deserve that chance. And so they just took us through the procedures. I mean, they gave us ideas of what we can do. For example, what we did during the day was we had what do you call this? Like we set up a project in which we built it up, and what that was a lesson for us, because what they wanted us to get from that is that's what they want us to, those are the skills that they want us to acquire when we complete the duration in which we'll be in that school, if for sure you come to get in.
Mwangi, you're saying sort of qualities that they wanted you to have, right?
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, I feel like there's so many qualities that a good leader should have in like various situations, right? I mean, I'm a leader too, right? In the Kenya Children Assembly, for say, right?
Yes.
I'm a leader there, and there are certain qualities that I'm supposed to basically uphold, or rather have as a leader.
Yes.
Now, African Leadership Academy, right?
Yes.
So, in my opinion, I'm thinking it's all about leadership.
Yes.
Right? So, in your opinion, what are sort of the qualities that you think a good leader should have?
For me, leadership is just simple.
Yeah.
A leader is, for me, what I believe in is servant leadership.
Servant leadership
is for you to go ahead of the people you're leading, because and also lead by example.
Lead by example.
Because what you find is that people are leaders, but they command you.
They don't,
you, right? They don't follow, or I mean, they command you, and what they do is there's a saying that says, you preach water but you're drinking wine. Yes. So that's not leadership. That's just dictatorial. Yes, those are the monarchies that we have. I mean, so you see, being in a world in which we have democracy, it is important for us to be servant leaders and go ahead of the people that we are elected. For you, I believe you're elected.
Yes, I was elected in KCA.
Yes, so you go ahead of the people, represent them, and that's why you are elected there. So for me, that's my stance on leadership.
Right. Now, I think one of the most fundamental things that a leader should uphold in various situations is I think integrity, in my opinion.
Yes.
To be true to oneself, and that's the people that you're leading, or the state that you're leading, or basically the people who are looking up to you, right? True. You're supposed to be true to them and true to yourself.
Okay, for me, my stance would be, when we start to talk about integrity, we would delve into what integrity stands for. For me, integrity is standing out and doing what you know is right. with the right people at the right time, and without supervision.
Because
someone who is integrity, let's say, let's dive in even. Let's say, mathematics.
Mathematics, yes.
You would call an integer a number that stands by itself.
Yes,
doesn't have a decimal point, doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
It is a number that stands by itself. That's the same to integrity.
Yeah.
Because it comes from the basic integer. And so, it's just someone standing out for what you know is right. And so, when we talk about, let's say, politics, and as you said, the president, or generally leaders, the R and the L for me, it's quite difficult.
It's okay.
I mean, when we talk about leaders, yes, integrity is one of the very important virtues that you have to
uphold, as an individual,
and uphold, as you say. Yes, because there comes a time where you're put in the abyss, you're put in the catch-22 situation, in which for sure you have to make a decision. And as I said, it's more of servant leadership. So you make a decision not to only benefit yourself,
but the rest,
but even the people who have elected you and the people you're serving.
Right.
So it's a sad thing that now in this country, we don't have leaders, but we have politicians. Because there's a difference between. I was listening to a radio station,
right,
and there was one of the former governors, and he gave a very good distinction between leadership and politics. And he described leadership to be, a leader will always use the opportunity they have to better the people who they're supposed to serve. However, a politician is always looking for the next opportunity in which they can better themselves. And they never think of how they can use the opportunity they have
to help others.
To utilize it fully to actually help the people.
Yes, right. Now, I feel like, in my opinion, that's rather not centered around democracy a lot. So that's rather not centered around democracy, and I think dictatorship, in my opinion, right? Because the people have elected you, but at what cost?
Yes.
Right. They're expecting you to help them as a people's person, right? But in turn, you're a person's person, because you're only trying to benefit yourself, or rather help yourself to gain more and leave the others in the dust, right? And now this one brings up the topic of economic sort of and social inequalities, right? Because he's not, or rather the politician is not being fair to the rest of the people, and social inequality is centered around that. I'd say, in my opinion. But what do you think about that?
Us as children, for sure, we are indeed affected.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
And one of them is definitely economically.
Economically.
Because if we're sure, we find that about 60% of the Kenyans are living below poverty,
right?
Below $1,
and that's true. To be honest, that's true.
It's a very sad thing.
Very sad thing, especially for us children.
We're drastically affected.
Yes.
And it's a sad story. Just give you a brief story. There's a lady I saw on a television station, in which we've come to a time where we have very hard times.
Definitely.
And so she actually they didn't have food. And so night came by, and so guess what she had to do?
What did she do?
Had to she had to pretend that she's boiling something. So she just put stones in the sufuria. She boiled through, and so that the children could just have that hope that there's something being cooked. So they eventually slept hungry, and they woke up the other day. So it brings about where children are really affected in this,
very
because
affected.
They're walking the journey. You can imagine if for sure we're having hard economic times, and we have times where a child will go home. A child will be asleep.
Hungry.
A child will sleep hungry. It's a very sad thing, because it brings around so many other effects.
So
it has
many.
a ripple effect on the child in terms of psychologically,
mentally, physically, emotionally, like
social
everywhere.
status, everything.
Everything.
You know, it has what you call a multiplier effect in economics.
A multiplier, right?
Yeah, it's not only just economically, but it damages the child, not just that moment, but even for times to come in the future.